There we go. Let's see if we are going live. Just going to fix this a bit. There we go. Hi everyone. Hi Mellow J, how are you doing? Not much actually, just building apps, I guess. Flutter rules, yeah indeed. Here's a question. From where are you learning all these amazing things with Flutter? How can we do this and learn it on ourselves? So my learning pretty much comes from just building stuff. So if I want to build stuff, I just start by just constructing the initial setup of what I don't or what I want to construct or create. And then I just go from there, find it, do I need a state management, for example? Then I check out the different ones, try to learn them, check them out, go for the next step, and then just take everything in bits and pieces, if that makes sense. So don't just go and do everything right away. So let's see, so I already created this project up here, and this should be in the description also. I've just started and adding HTTP, Flutter _block, and also block packages. And that's what we need for this project, I think. Maybe we'll add something. Hey Cornelia, maybe? The tutorial on Flutter and Firebase auth. I think I have one already. It may be outdated now though, because the Flutter auth package is quite updated. If it is, I will look into creating an updated one indeed. How long have you been? I just started it up like 1 minute ago, so I haven't actually done anything. So what we're going to pretty much do is just like, so in the description, you can find the GitHub repo. That's the repo for all of the different live streams. So what we're pretty much doing is just recreating what we're learning for each of the different state management solutions. So last week, I think it was Redux. So this one will be Flutter Bloc. And I believe it's pretty similar in the setup compared to Redux. So we will just take a look. Let's see here. Rizukoda has a nice tutorial. Yeah, he has good tutorials as well. So check him out as well. What extension is it? What extension? Which extension do you mean? The tree view of your code. Oh, this one. So I believe if you go to control comma, you can go to the settings. If you then write dart.preview, you will get a bunch of different preview sessions or preview settings that they have released. And I believe it is this one, so preview Flutter UI guides. And you will get those lines right there. Okay, so let's get started pretty much. So what we have here is the setup. I'm going to have block. I guess this is pretty much similar to Redux. So with Redux, we had actions, reducers, and state. So the blocks is pretty much going to be the reducers, I guess. The events is pretty much going to be the actions, and the state is going to be the states, right? So I'm just going to have the get started one here also. And I'm just going to like pretty much do the counter one first, just so I can pretty much understand it. So I'm just going to open this one and that one. And we're going to create some events. So first off, I'm just going to ignore the state one for the counter, because the state is so simple. It's just going to be a counter. So we'll just have that as the value right away. How to learn like you on my own. Just pick a topic you want to learn and then try to break it down in small pieces, and then just try to do it. It's pretty much what I'm doing here. So I haven't really checked out block at all, or the block package until now. So I have only just looked at what block, events, and states means in this package, so I could explain that one. But I don't know anything else here, so this will be very interesting. So with state, with the counter, we're only going to have a int for the state, so we'll just ignore that and just have the state right away. We will start by just creating an event. So that will be counter events.dart. And I guess we will just have, we will just go with one class, and this class is just going to be the increment event. And so we can just have it like this, but I'm just going to use for testing so we can pass in our own increment. So for example, instead of just incrementing with 1 each time, I want to try to increment with 2 instead. So we're going to have a int number, and then we're going to have the constructor. So I'm guessing this is the same for block as it is with Redux. So I'm just guessing right now, pretty much. So that means we have the increment event. Use the block extension. Oh, is there a block extension? Is it called? Oh, this is not. Is it this one? Flutter Bloc? Or what is it called? Flutter Bloc. Is it this one? Yeah, Felix Angelo. What can you do with this new block commands? Oh, that looks pretty sweet though. Okay, we can use this, but this seems to create a bunch of different stuff, but I just want to, this looks like something I would take up in the tutorial when I create that, but I just want to try to understand all of those things by myself also. So this is pretty much something we will add later probably. We'll just go with creating it ourselves. So the layout will probably be better with the extension later. But let's go with this for now. So we have the counter events. So let's add a block. So this will be the counter block. And to create this counter block, we'll just create a class counter block, and it will extend block, it seems. So I'm just going to set dynamic really fast so we can just create it up. So instead of dynamic here for the first one, can we see, let's see the documentation. So the first one will be the events, and the event will be, so instead of just having increment event, let's just create a class. So factory class, I don't know if I remember the counter event, or maybe we can just do it like this. Extends counter event. See if I can, abstract, of course. So now we can use this counter event instead of signalizing that the event will just be this increment event. So if we would later add a decrement event, we can add that also. So we'll use this counter event instead. And I'm just going to import this. The dynamic will be pretty much the state that's going out, or the state. And in this example, let's say it's a counter, it will just be int. And we're going to override. I'm just going to remove this. So the initial state, and this is why we just didn't create a state, because the initial state will just be 0. Now this is a bit more interesting. So we have the map event to state, or state. So if I'm guessing if this is the same as for Redux, let's see here. I have a good tutorial on authors wiki. I know a lot of people are asking about the block extension. I just want to, in this live stream, just want to see if we can learn and see if we can write everything on ourselves. And then later, when I'm creating a tutorial on this, I will be sure to use the block extension also. So we have the map event to state. So here, I guess we get the event. So when we do dispatch, we get an event. And then we can, of course, check this event. So if we just create a if, so if the event is the same as the increment event, we can return the state and add 1 to it. So this is just a knowledge that I have from before using this package. So when we have a function that returns a stream, we're going to use a async star. And instead of just returning the value, so for example, if we want to return, let's see, how do you use the, okay, they have a current state. So the current state returns the current state of the block, which is then the counter or the integer, which we can see here. And then we can use +1. So this won't work as we are using a async star and we want to return a stream. So instead of doing this, we can then use the yield. And this will pretty much do what we want. But we don't want to increment with 1, right? Because we could add any amount of number, right? So we can use the event dot and then take the number. So this will let us not mutate the current state. We will just have the state and add X amount of numbers and then return that total value. Awesome, I love Flutter here as well. As well. Okay, so let's see here. So we have the map event to state. So now we can pretty much build out this counter page, I guess. Let's see here. So first off, of course, we aren't providing our block anywhere. So let's just go to main. I'm just going to make all of this pretty much global, or not global, but we're going to return MultiProvider. No, not MultiProvider, multi-block provider, I guess, because I believe they the creative provider helped with building this. So that makes us being able to have a child, and that is the, of course, the material app. And we're going to have providers, and that will be an array or a list. Do I need to learn patterns architecture for Firebase? So it helps you to know pretty much how you would architecture an app when using Firebase. It's not necessary you're getting all of the streams and everything from Firebase when you're using it, but it will just help you keep the code clean later. So here we can use the block provider, and inside the block provider we have the builder. We don't need the context, and we're just going to do the counter. Is it the counter block then? And import that. Do we need something like that then? So now we have the counter block, so that should work. Now we can go here and take final counter block is equal to block provider, and just import that because I don't remember how to write it. Block provider dot of context, and we have to specify the type, which is counter block. So that will let us get the counter block. So with that counter block, we should be able to. So of course we don't need this counter state anymore. So let's just remove this. We should be able to make this widget a stateless widget. So let's do that as well. This counter is going to be replaced, right? And also this one is going to be replaced. Can I watch this video later on? Yeah, the video should be up on the channel after the live stream, probably like an hour after, because YouTube takes time fixing it. Yeah, it's probably late at a lot of places right now. So let's see here. So we have the counter block. So let's see, how do we actually show that? So I believe we need a widget to show it. So it seems to be a block builder. So we have a block builder. So I'm just going to write it above this one so we can just replace it. So we have a block builder. And the block builder takes a block. Of course, we also need to say this, set the states for it. So this is going to have the block we are going to have is the counter block. And the thing that this block or block builder is going to provide or give is the integer, which is the counter. So now we can give it the block, which is the counter block. We're going to have the builder, and the builder will be context and number. So now we should be able to just take this code right here, go to the builder, return the text here, and then set the number right there. So now we should probably get an error because we actually, okay, it actually crashed. And that was because we removed the stateful widgets of this and just replace it with a stateless. We can keep coding while we are at it anyway. So now we actually have to like add something to the block, right? So that would be calling the counter block. And then we're going to dispatch something. So we're going to dispatch an event. So if we check our events, we can see that we want to dispatch an increment event. So let's dispatch an increment event. And this increment event, if we check it, it requires a number. So that's just because I want to be able to increment with 2. So let's see how that looks. Block or provider, what is the best, or they are different things? Oh, let's see, what did we do here? I'm just going to see if we can. What did we do? Call of contact does not contain a block of type. So we're going to take the block provider of the counter block. And in the main, use a block provider with the counter block. Isn't that right? Of counter block. That's a bit tricky. So let's see. If you have any, like, if you find what I'm doing wrong, so because I'm probably like missing. So block provider. Oh, is it because we don't specify the type? This is some real good coding. So let's see here. Oh, okay, awesome. So we actually got a very good feedback from that. So that should actually work. So now we're actually incrementing with 2 each time. So now we can just change this, add 10, for example. And for me, I find this difficult to add each time. So for example, counter block, and then we want to dispatch and then increment action. I just want to have a function on the counter block. So that's just because I'm used to that. So we can actually add a function. So let's say we have a void increment, and this is going to take an int number. Then we should be able to either write this.dispatch, yeah, so this.dispatch, and then we can add the specific event we want to dispatch right there instead. And that will just make it so we don't have to have the code here. So we should be able to just do like this. Yeah. And then we can just call increment instead and add a 2. So I just feel like this is a bit more. Oh, what did we do now? Increment 2. Oh, of course, that's going to be the number. Yeah, so that should work. So now let's go and move on to see if we can do the same thing, but just adding the same thing we have done with all of the different or the other live stream and packages. And that's just having a So when we start the app, it would fetch a list of facts or cat facts, and then display those, and also display the loading, of course. If we would tap of any of them, it would display the info of it and also increment how many facts that we have read pretty much. So let's actually go and move on to that right away. So we need some different things. First off, we're going to create the state. Let's see a block. Did I answer your question? Block or provider, what's the best thing? Are they different things? So they're pretty much different state management solutions. So like it depends on the project you're making. It's really hard to like answer those questions. Just pick what you prefer. Try to stick with it. If it doesn't suit your work case, then try another one. So we have states, and we are going to have we're going to have the cat facts. A bit about. Let's see here. And let's see here. We are going to create the state, which is the cat facts state.dart. So let's see, we're also going to create a models folder, and this one will just be straight copied from the GitHub from the other packages or the other projects. So that should be enough, and we can just hide that models. So this this state is we are going to pretty much have the exact same thing as the other one. We're going to have the loading state. We're going to then just create the class below it. So we're going to create a class called cat facts state. And this one is going to just me copying things that we need from. So this is copied from the Redux example we created. So I'm just going to just pick the different pieces we're going to have. And this one. So this is the data we want to store in the state. So now we can, let's see here, we should create, let's see here, let me think. So we have the state. So now we're going to create, let's move on and creating the block right away actually. So we're going to create a cat facts block.dart. So the way we're going to pretty much create this is just going to do the same as the other one. So we're going to create a class, cat facts state, extends block, and we're going to set the type. So the first type is going to be the event, right? We haven't actually created a event, so let's just write cat facts event. And then the other one, which is the state, and that's going to be the cat facts state. So before we complete this, so let's just implement the block one. So before we use the import, we're just going to create the event as well. So cat facts events.dart. So the way we're pretty much going to do this is that we are going to do the same as with the counter. We're going to create a abstract class and just make all of the other events inherit from this one so we can use that type. So abstract class cat facts event, and that should be enough for now because that's the one we're going to use here. So now we should be able to add that, and then we can generate the missing overrides. So we need to do two things here, right? So the first one, or the thing we did before was when we had a integer, we can just set the initial state to 0 right away. So I just want to go to the, not the models, this state. We're going to create a initial constructor. So cat fact state dot initial. And this one is going to just create all of the things that we have here pretty much. Like that. Didn't we add it? Is it like So how are we going to do that then? Isn't defined, but isn't it defined? Didn't we go to the... Why is it not defined? Let's create another normal constructor as well. Maybe that's the reason. It's going to have it like that for now. Why don't we get anything on it? The state. Cat fact state dot initial. Let's just have it like that. I'm probably going to change this soon. So then we're just going to have the different events, right? So let's just keep going and creating our different events that we want. So I'm just using the Redux as an example. Let's see. We're going to go to there we go. So we have this one, right? So the different things that we want is, first we want a class called fetch cat facts event. And all of these are just going to inherit from this one. Like this. I'm just going to copy and create some of them. So we have fetch cat facts. I'm just going to check so I have the same names. Loading. Maybe we don't need to call them event after each one, because they inherit from the cat facts event. So we have the fetch cat facts, and then the loading, failed, success, and then we have one which is called something like increment. So increment facts red. So these are the different ones, right? So this one is pretty much going to start our call for HTTP, and that will actually just be copied. So we're going to create, first off, we're just going to create a constructor because I can't copy that. And we want to be able to pass in our block because I don't know how else we're going to dispatch an action from here. Then we'll just create a function called fetch, and we'll just call put in block void fetch. That would be the same as here. And now I can actually copy in some code. So the first one is going to be the URL we're going to have. The second one is actually that we need to dispatch something. So then now we can call the block. Oh, it's not going to be an event. Cat facts block. Isn't it called block? Did we call it state? Oh, that's not... maybe this is because we couldn't create... Okay, so this is going to be block. Like that. Let's see here, what are we doing wrong? Oh, we have the state. But isn't this one going to be like that? Now we can pass in the block, and of course this method is going to take the counter block as well. So now we should be, yeah, now we can dispatch. So we are going to dispatch something, which is going to be the first thing that we want to do, which is just set everything to loading. Now we can just create a async function and HTTP, which is just this line right here. Hi everyone, how are you doing? Can you explain a bit about anonymous functions, please? I want to try to keep this one to more of state management. I will probably create a tutorial for that, or not a tutorial, but maybe we can have another live stream for that. Is it possible to run this code in all platforms, Android, iOS, web? Not this specific code is not possible to run on web, but you can pretty much extend it so it will build on web, but out of the box it will not build on web, I believe. Hey Xavier. So let's see here. So what do we want to do now? So now we have the response, right? So we want to check the states. So we're going to just copy this one. And we can do if. So if the response, right? Response dot status code is equal to 200. So if it is successful, we can do this. And if not, we can do that. And this will pretty much just copy the code we had on the other project. JSON, let's import the convert. And then of course import the class. So here we're going to dispatch another action. So if we are successful, we want to dispatch an event. And this event is going to be the success event. But there's one problem with this one, and I'm going to fix that. But we want to be able to pass in the cat facts as well, right? Because when we are successful, we want to pass the new list of states. We're just going to create a print for now. Failed getting data. And then we can do another dispatch here. And this dispatch will be failed. So the successful will have a it will pretty much be the list, right? So let's see if I can check how we did it last one. Yeah. So we pretty much did list cat facts, and that will be called cat facts. Then we just create the constructor of fetch cat facts success and this dot cat facts. So now we can pass that in, which is right there. Increment facts read. This should be enough for that as well. So now we should have a completed events or actions or whatever you want to call them. They are very similar to Redux. This is pretty much just copy paste with Redux, but instead of dispatching it in the Redux way, we just call the block and dispatches it. I don't know if this is just a preferred way. I just thought about this when now I'm creating this. It just makes sense to just pass the block and then calling it on the block. Let's just go with that. So can I actually call this one and set the initial? Yeah. Oh, I probably used to call it. Oh, okay. Now we got the initial state at least. Now we can start by checking the different states, or not the states, the events. So if the event is, so what event do we want to check first? So probably like if we started the fetch loading one. And we have to think one extra, right? Because all of the data is, I believe, immutable. So let's just first set async. So I don't think we can do like this. I don't think we should do like this. Current state dot state, which is the loading one, and just set that to loading state dot loading, and then we just return the current state. I don't think we should do like this. Oh, not return yield. Yield current state. Oh, I think star. So I don't think we should do like this, because then we're actually mutating the current state, which we don't want. We actually want to first copy it and then return the new version of that, right? So let's go to our state, and we're just going to create a constructor, and this one will take in the current state, and we can set this dot cat facts to the current state dot cat facts. This dot state is going to be state dot state, and then we're going to take this dot facts red count, which is going to be current state dot facts red count. Hopefully we don't break any coding rules now. So I'm thinking of, because we can't mutate the current state, we actually have to copy the current state into a new state, right? And then we should return that new state. So I'm just going to create a final new state, and that will be the cat facts state, and then we're going to have the constructor and pass in the current state. So now we should be able to use this new state instead and return. So we don't actually get an error, but I believe we will get an error afterwards, and if not, we can test that later. So now we can just create or keep going with our different ifs. So if the event then is a what do we have after loading? So for example, failed. So is fetch cat facts failed. We're going to do the same thing, I believe, but we're going to set this to error. Going to create another one and another one, and that will be the success one. So success. So if we are successful, we will have a few different things. So first off, we are not going to have loading, but the new state will also have the cat facts, right? And that, if this is the same as Redux, we should be able to get that with the event. So there we see that there we have the cat facts, and that is because when we're using this if, it checks automatically what the event is. So this event, if we check it, is a cat facts event, but it's pretty much this one. Like that, and we'll have one last if, and that's just going to be the increment one. So this one. And that will just take the new state dot facts red count and plus plus, and we will yield the new state. So now we should be able to have this one right. Let's see in the documentation. So they also seem to have like a override for some different things. So we have a override on transition, and we have another override. So we'll just add this and see what they do. This seems to be something that happens when a state occurs, and this seems to be used when we get an error. This will print this, and this will print this transition. So let's just check what this does. What is the use of yield? So the reason, so most of the time you will have, for example, a future and just use the return keyword, and you can return, or if you don't have a sync, you can just return a value. But in this case, this function is going to return a stream, because our block builder is just listening to this stream, right? So when we use yield, we're just saying that we are yielding this new state, and that means that this new state will now be incorporated as a stream. So it will be a stream of catfact state, if that makes sense. So if we would just do return, this new state would actually not be a stream of catfact state. It would just be a normal catfact state. But this requires to return a stream. And that's why we're using yield, and of course the sync star, because if we just write a sync, the yield keywords is not accessible. So there we go. So now we have this one. So now we're just going to pretty much do a lot of copy paste for the different pages. So I'm going to create two different pages, right? So the first one will be the catfact page.dart, and then the catfacts page.dart. Hope it makes sense, by the way. So let's just go to the Redux one. We're going to go to the library and go to the pages, and these two pages. So I'm pretty much just going to copy these. So this is pretty much the UI we built with Redux, but we're not using Redux anymore. We're using Bloc. So I'm still just going to copy over all of the code, and we can start replacing the code with Bloc instead, if that makes sense. So of course we can import the things that we actually can get. And I believe I learned from the other stream that we should start with the catfact and start to change this one. So first off, we haven't provided our block, so let's do that. The type will be catfacts block, like that. And we are going to return the catfacts page instead this time. So now we'll have like just a bunch of different errors, but maybe we can work with this anyway. So let's see here. So now we're not using a store connector anymore, because that's from Redux. We're just going to use a block builder. The block builder has a type, which the type is pretty much the same as with Redux. We're going to take not the state this time, but we're taking the block, so the catfacts block. And then what is going out is the complete or the total state, which is the catfacts state, like that. And we open that up, and we have the block and also the builder. And the builder will take, I always forget this one. It will be the context and also the catfact state. So inside here, we should be able to pretty much take this code, and that will be, let's just do like this instead. It will be like that. Now we should be able to remove this one. And we need the code for this one. So let's just go up at the top, take final cat facts block is equal to block provider. Do we need to import anything? Dot off context, and we have to specify the type, which is the cat facts block. Cat facts block, like that. So now we can give that to the block. So that is pretty much what we are going to do for all of these different things. So I'm just going to copy this. We're going to create a new body. That would be the same as this one, but instead we are going to take everything that is inside this body and just put this here. Oh. So the reason this is red is because it's just this is plural, so we didn't just use the same name. Okay. Can do like that. We can remove the body. And let's just format that. And now, of course, we need to implement the floating action button. And I'm just going to create it again. So that will just be a floating action button. So this is something I didn't really like with Redux. We had to use this store connector each time we actually want to do dispatch an action. I guess we don't need that anymore, because now we can just take the cat facts block and then dispatch it right away. So what event do we want to dispatch? So the event we're going to dispatch is, what is the event we're going to dispatch? The event we're going to dispatch is, oh yeah, this one. Oh, of course it's not going to be an action, it's going to be an event. And we're not going to have an event either. There we go. And this one requires the block. So we can just pass that block in. So now we should be able to remove this code right there. So let's implement this one as well. And this one can just be imported. And let's just see what is this one doing. So this one just has, so we should be able to just take this code, increment facts red, okay? And instead of just doing like this, we can take our block again. So let's just use the block provider. And then we can do block.dispatch. And the event is going to be this event right here. So that should be enough for this page. Oh, I'm just going to see if we can get something loaded. Okay, so right now it's just loading, and I don't think we actually dispatch an action right away. So let's just see if we can. Yeah, so here we can see the transition. So it's just pretty much printing everything that we don't care about, because we haven't actually made it so it prints anything nice. Okay, but let's just keep it like that. We can actually see that our dispatches are working for now, and we can see which events that is actually dispatched. So that should be nice for now. Now we can go to this page and we can pretty much do the same. So we can take, let's just take this block builder right here, so we don't have to write it all again. Like this. Can just import everything. And we are going to use take this code right here also. Like that. That means we can remove this one. And we're going to do the same thing here. So let's take this line there, do like that, and remove the store connector again. So now we should be able to have a working state management with block, I believe, at least. Let's see. So we have the post red. So I actually hate this banner. So let's just remove that really fast. Show debug false. I just can't handle that one. So we haven't actually dispatched an action because we actually want it to like start right away. Let's just ignore that for now. So if we press right now, we can see it happens a fetch loading, and when that is successful, we get all of the different values. If I go to this post right up here, we can see the total amount of posts read is incremented. We can see also the total amount of posts is 202. And we can see that this works each time. So that is pretty nice. Let's just see if we can fix this transition up a bit. So let's see, what did they talk about that one? Okay, so they pretty much just overriding the toString on the events, and that is going to be what is going to be printed here. So it seems like all of this is actually automatically calling the toString. So let's see if we can change it then. So let's just close this. And let's just override the toString. So let's just add toString. And we are pretty much just going to call it just like they did in the example, just like that. We're going to do the same for each one. Like that. Let's see here. This one is going to be loading, failed, success, and red. So let's see if that changes everything. So if we go in here, yeah, now the increment facts red is changed. Current state and instance of, okay, so then, so we have to actually override the state toString as well if we want to display anything here. So let's just do like some small one. So let's just take the, let's see. Let's just show the length of the facts, right? So let's take total facts is this one, and we don't need that one. So let's see if that makes it a bit better. Yeah, so we have the current state, which is this one, and then that one. So let's see if we can just refresh this. So of course we're not calling the loading. So if we just press the button, we can see that the current state of the first fetch is loading, and we don't get any actual posts. Then the next one is the current state is still 0, but we're successful. So the new state is facts with 202. So that is working correctly. So what can we do more now? So yeah, so first of all, we actually probably want this as stateful widgets because I want to actually call, what's the name? So what does this method actually do? The only thing we care about is that. So we don't actually have to dispatch this, so I don't know. Let's just see if we can do like this instead. So that will probably just be replaced with like a repository. So this is a bit cleaner. So we don't have a class used to do this specific thing, right? Maybe we can make that a bit cleaner later, or maybe somebody have a better solution for that. So now we want to, so now this one is calling the loading and we're actually changing the state, right? So let's convert this to a stateful widget and implement a init state. So inside here we want to start the fetching of facts. So here we pretty much want to do this. So one thing is missing, right? Which is the cat facts block. We could just do, I believe you can cheat a bit. Maybe we should. Or else, if we don't want to do that, we can just pass the block down. I'm just going to do a future dot delayed and do duration dot 0 and do like that. So now inside this delayed, we actually have the context, I believe. I don't know if this is a recommended way of doing it. So what we can do is just pretty much create a variable here, right? And we can pass that block down here right away. I was just now a bit lazy, so I just did it like this. And of course we have to refresh it because we changed the stateless widget to the stateful. Yeah, so now we are getting it to load because right away in the init state, we do a future delayed so we can get the context and then called fetch cat facts. Maybe we should just do it like a better way. That's just a hack pretty much to get the context in the init state. I don't think that's like the recommended way. So let's just create a variable of this one instead. So we can pretty much do this and we can give it a cat facts block and we can pass that in and create a variable. And create a constructor for it. Required. So now we can just do widget dot. So just in this example, we actually don't need to get this one from the context right now. So we can just use widget dot each time. Like that. And this one we would actually need to do that, or else we had to pass that block down here, which we don't want. So now we should have it working. So let's just see if we can reload everything because we don't have the block there. So if we press now, we can see that the values are incremented. Everything is working correctly. We can press the button, which just refreshes everything. And we can see that all of the states are updated here, which is pretty nice. Yeah, so now we got everything working, which is pretty nice. I think I understand it a bit more. This is very, very similar to Redux. It's like scary how similar it is. The like main difference I see is that we're, instead of using like normal values in Redux, we're using streams instead. But they are more hidden away. So if I would go to cat facts here, like this is very pretty much hidden. Or not hidden, but you don't actually have to work with the stream. So you don't add values to the stream and stuff like that. You just yield it. yeah, but now we got everything working. That should be enough for the stream. If you guys would like to, you can always hit like down in the description hit like on the video. The videos don't, or the streams doesn't do as well as videos in general. But pretty much I announced this on my YouTube before, but I have gotten my brother to help me with writing some code for the upcoming videos as well. So I will pretty much, when I'm done with all of these live streams, I will start creating more condensed tutorials on all of these different state management, and probably have like better solutions for some of these things, right? I would try to go and ask each creator of the states and see if I can get reviews and stuff like that, so we can get some good code. Yeah, but that should be enough. Hope you liked the stream, everyone, and if you liked it, hit the like, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.